G'day and welcome to the Grow a Small Business Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Truen. Each week, we speak with an owner who has grown a business with 5 to 30 team members to something bigger. Diving into their numbers and unearthing the pain they've experienced, we explore what they did to overcome each barrier and what they would do differently from day one. Let's get into it.
Welcome everyone. Today I'm interviewing Shelley Brooks, a director and owner at Rodgers Reidy, based in Hobart, Australia. And today we're going to be discussing financial distress and not having to be alone. So thanks for your time, Shelley.
Thanks for having me, Michael. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and I love this topic because I think I was saying off audio that it goes a lot deeper necessarily than financial distress and just small business owners sometimes feeling alone, but they don't have to be. And there's various ways and means of reaching out to people. And today's topic, if in financial distress, definitely reach out and don't let things fester because it can become disastrous. So just to introduce, I think we met a number of years ago via Rob Cameron, who's also involved with Grow a Small Business, and we've done a little bit of work together and over the last few years. So that's sort of our background. So from your perspective, tell our audience a bit about yourself and your experience on this topic.
Yes, so I think our relationship does go back a few years now. I think the last 2 years have completely just been lost for everyone. But I've been in corporate and personal restructuring, so turnaround, for probably about 19 years now. I don't like to admit that because I was always the young one in the office, just not anymore. Now I'm the old one. So I have a fair bit of experience in this area, and I've also been a registered liquidator since 2011. So I was the first one in Tassie for quite a while.
Oh, interesting. I didn't realise
First female registered, not the first registered for quite a while.
Yeah, no, awesome. So what are the key implications that small business owners should be aware with respect to this topic and how they can help themselves and their business?
Yeah, look, I think a huge implication is your own mental health. See a lot of issues surrounding business owners' mental health. We all know just the stress of owning a business is stressful enough and hard on yourself and your family. But if you start to experience financial distress, then that can just be the final straw that broke the camel's back. Things don't have to get to that point. We say all the time, if you ask for help, that will actually help relieve that stress for you. As hard as it is to ask for the help, that in itself is also stressful, but actually, just seek that assistance. Some of the other implications, if people put their head in the sand for too long and don't come and seek any help, they might find that it's too late. Generally, if people come and see us 3-6 months earlier, we can probably turn them around and make the whole situation pretty much go away for them. They can start with a clean slate. They can lose the ability to actually make those decisions themselves. So if you are under any financial distress, a lot of the time the ATO is the big creditor sitting there that's owed money. It's always the easiest one to stop paying. They may take the control out of your hands. So they could actually end up winding your business up. You have no say in that, and then there's nothing you can do. As I said, look, if people seek advice early enough, generally we can rehabilitate their business, so that gives them that control again. Sometimes they may want to walk away because they have just had enough. I think the other thing that we see and a major implication, so people might have 2 or 3 businesses, different entities, financial reasons, tax reasons, they may start shuffling assets around. Now, for a business that's under financial distress, if something goes wrong, all of that potentially could be overturned. Now, that can be backdated up to 10 years. So a formal restructure process to rehabilitate your business and turn it around actually stops that kind of thing from happening. because it's seen that you have taken the appropriate steps and the assets have been dealt with in the right way.
So just use the word rehabilitation, which is a good description. So just briefly, sort of, how does that work from a business's perspective?
Yeah, so look, from a business perspective, rehabilitation. So you might say someone's under financial distress. And as I said, a lot of the time, the ATO is the main problem. There may be a few other little issues within the business. Do you have the right people in the right job? Do you have too many assets? That kind of thing. So rehabilitating is where we go in, we have a look at the business, ensure that they can trade profitably. So if all these debts were actually wiped or reduced significantly, how can they trade? If we can see that, yep, they are actually a profitable business, then we can actually turn them around. So we actually put a freeze on all of those debts, make an offer to your creditors. So we might say 10 cents in the dollar, Mr. ATO, 15 cents in the dollar. And then the business only has to come up with that amount of money. Instead of maybe $1 million debt, they may have $100,000 that they need to come up with. And we formulate a way that the business can afford to make those repayments from future profits over a period of time.
Yeah, and so obviously, and allowing them to continue to trade, more importantly.
Correct. There are a couple of different structures. So small business restructure came in, it was nearly a couple of years ago now. And during that process, the directors maintain control of the business themselves. There are some guidelines that they have to meet and requirements. So debts under $1 million. Otherwise, there's always voluntary administration. So that's where an administrator takes control for up to 30 days. And then after that, creditors get to vote on an offer, deed of company arrangement, and we formulate that as soon as that's been accepted and signed, that control goes back to the directors immediately.
Yeah, that's very good to know, no doubt, for small business owners with financial distress, because from my experience, I think their understanding is all is lost once you go down this track. So there is obviously options where they can continue on and become financially viable back into the future. So from your experience, does that happen, regularly, or is it sort of more the minority, or obviously it's case by case, but what's sort of your experience generally?
Yeah, look, as I said, it really depends if the business owners come to us in time. A lot of the time they have left it too late. People see this kind of situation that they've failed, they've done something wrong. Not saying that there aren't directors out there that do the wrong thing, but 99% of the time, the directors, there have been other circumstances that have caused the issue. It can be simple things like issues at home, family, matrimonial. There can be, illness that takes your mind away from your business. We've all had COVID, we've experienced that, and most of us have managed to scrape through. Some people have thrived. But if you come that little bit earlier, yes, then we can generally turn you around. And with that, we give you recommendations too as to what we see potential issues could be for you, so that, I want to ensure the ongoing viability. I've got companies that entered into a deed of company arrangement over 10 years ago. That's all finalised and they're thriving.
Yeah, that's a great story, and I think it's probably as much a mindset for small business owners as to one, being prepared to reach out, and it's not definitely a sign of failure by any stretch, because like you say, there's various reasons why businesses can get into financial distress outside their control as well, and as we know, it's bloody hard running a business, right? So there's things coming at you every day.
Yep.
So if things don't go to plan, then it's reaching out to those like yourself that can help and get things back on track.
Yeah, that's right. And I think it's people's perception. It doesn't matter what people think, what the public think, what your friends think. You're actually doing the right thing. That's why these mechanisms are in place.
That's right. And as you say, the right thing, not only by yourself, but for your suppliers and your employees, all your stakeholders, right?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I mean, people think, I might be able to trade out of this. Well, 6 months, 2 years down the track, you actually might be in a worse position. And then you've affected like you said, your employees or your suppliers even worse than what they were.
Yeah, digging a bigger hole potentially.
Yep. And it's a lot harder to get out of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I think you mentioned the tax office. Are they now being more proactive, let's call it, in sort of collecting outstanding tax?
Yeah, they are. Their main focus has been on superannuation. So that's been a huge collector. That is a liability that directors cannot get away from now. If you haven't paid it, you will have a personal liability. If you make your lodgement within a month, you may get away with it. You may not. And then, your PAYG, BAS, everything. You can't get away from the ATO debt now and having a personal liability. So, to avoid that, if you have an ATO debt, they're not wanting to enter into payment plans anymore. If you've had multiple payment plans and you're breaching them, during COVID, they were allowing 2-3 years to repay debt. They're getting a lot harder on that. If it's a significant debt, sometimes they're wanting 50-60% upfront. Now, not a lot of businesses, if you've already got a debt, are going to be able to come up with that amount of money. So these type of formal restructures, if you haven't been issued with a director penalty notice from the ATO, we can avoid that. So if you take action before the ATO issue any penalty notices on you, we can avoid a personal liability. That is a huge thing for directors of a company in particular, because the idea of a company structure is to try and protect your own assets.
Find it hard to define a clear strategy, then communicate it and execute it alongside the rest of your team? Or you currently don't work a simple quarterly strategic plan to boost your team's performance? Our Business Growth Formula online course is perfect for small business owners with 5 to 30 team members wanting to grow. We share the mindsets, habits and tools to be a legendary leader in your business. growsmallbusiness.com.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, it's somewhat, a lot of small business owners don't know what they don't know in this context, but I think the more they understand and know about these opportunities, the better, particularly in these times and no doubt challenging times ahead with the economic environment that businesses are facing. So, and like you said earlier, my experience too, once business owners have reached out to someone like yourself, it is actually a weight off their shoulders, and it's sort of counterintuitive, but they certainly feel a lot better in themselves and feel like then they've got support and some light at the end of the tunnel, hopefully.
Yeah. Look, I've had directors that I've spoken to and met with. I've given them recommendations, and they've contacted me the next day and said they've had the best sleep ever in the past 10 years because it has been a relief for them to actually seek that help. Now, I'm not saying that it's an easy decision to even decide you want to go down the path of a formal restructure or appointment. Again, there are stresses involved with that, but once you get through that process, it is a huge relief.
Yeah. And I think in general, for small business owners seeking help externally for various things, but marketing, business coaching, finance, I think the whole principle applies in that once they start to get some people around them to help them move forward, then again, it's a weight off their shoulder, and they feel there's, they've got people to talk to. So it's so very important, and something we certainly promote and what Grow a Small Business is all about. So again, to put some into context, maybe give us a story or two about this that you've experienced.
Yep. Look, I think I'll just reinforce what you said. You took the words out of my mouth about having that team of advisors around you, because that's really important. You might be great at building houses, but it doesn't mean you're great at doing finances, or like you said, having that mentor. So I completely agree with what you're saying there. So some stories. Well, I can give a close to home one. During COVID, government put a stop on all insolvency work. There were all the government relief. There was no action on insolvent trading. The ATO wasn't doing anything. Banks haven't really been doing anything, particularly since the Royal Commission. So for myself, as a small business owner, that put a huge amount of pressure financially. Didn't just cause stress for myself, it caused stress at home, because you have everything going on in the office, then you go home, take it out on the family. So my family life suffered. This was an extremely stressful time for our industry. We couldn't get any relief. We didn't get any grants. We weren't eligible for anything like that. We were lucky. One, we understand what we need to do to ensure our ongoing viability, and we were able to find ways to reduce costs to ultimately get through that. But as I said, I think that's just a close to home story. I'm no different to any other business owner that's out there. This might be what I do every day, but there can still be outside factors that can impact your business. I think another one, so I had an agri contracting business. They lost a significant number of contracts. Their ATO debt was mounting. As I said, ATO is the biggest creditor for probably 99% of businesses. I could see if that debt was cleared that they could trade profitably. They did have some other contracts that were coming up. They were waiting on some payments. I assisted the director in formulating and proposing a deed of company arrangement to his creditors, gave him some pointers on how to continue, that he was viable moving forward, and all terms of the DOCA were met. And as I said, this is a business that it would have been over 10 years ago now, that they are continuing to trade and are going strong.
Yeah, it's a good story, and obviously that's a story that can hopefully resonate with many business owners in distress. So as far as the ATO and these deeds of company arrangement that you sort of propose, I guess every situation is different, but is the ATO reasonably reasonable, I guess, in looking at accepting those?
Yeah, look, they are. I have to, when I report to creditors and the ATO, I have to explain what the proposal is and would they get a better return if the company was liquidated. Now, in some cases they might, but that might take 6-7 years, whereas this proposal, they might get their money instantly or within 6 months' time. So you sort of weigh up those options and the costs involved. If a business is continuing to trade and employing people, they're going to accept those recommendations the majority of the time. So yeah, as I said, I have to recommend. Now, if I'm recommending in my report to creditors, I believe this is the best option, they will generally accept my recommendations. They may have some questions. Sometimes I've seen they may say, oh, well, we want, couple more $1,000. How can we get that? And we can sort of work things around that. But they do generally accept my recommendations.
Yeah, that's good to know. So just to wrap up our chat, what's at least one thing you'd recommend a small business owner does based on your knowledge, expertise in this area?
Can't express enough. Don't stick your head in the sand. Reach out, ask someone for some advice sooner rather than later. Whether or not it's your accountant, your financial planner, somebody like me in my industry, we don't charge for you to come and meet with us. and for me to be able to have a look at things and provide those recommendations. A fresh set of eyes can be your saving grace.
Yeah, and totally agree. And I guess at Grow a Small Business, we've got our business transformation program. That's again another option depending on where your business is at. But so look, really appreciate the chat, Shelley. I think it's some really good insights for small business owners that might be in financial distress, and you don't have to go it alone, right?
That's right. Thank you for the invite. I appreciate coming along. And yeah, as you said, you don't have to go it alone. There's so many people out there that can help you.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, Shelley.
Thanks, Michael. Speak to you soon.
That's it. Thanks for listening. Please leave a review in iTunes or whatever platform you listen to us on. It means more small business owners will find our cast and help people with their business growth journey.